In focus now, Republican Governor Greg Abbott of the great state of Texas. Governor, there have been some tough times under the leadership of both Biden and Harris, with her being, in charge of it all. How many times have you talked with Kamala Harris, your state being the one that's taken in the most illegals during their administration?
So, regardless of whatever title Kamala Harris has, you want to call it border czar, whatever the case may be, everyone has seen that videotape where President Biden clearly assigned to Kamala Harris the responsibility to take care of the border. And this past weekend, a video surfaced about Kamala Harris having a press conference at the border, along with Secretary Mayorkas, talking about assuming the responsibility to provide a secure border. The bottom line is, despite the fact that she's been in charge of securing the border, she has talked to me, the state that is ground zero for illegal border crossings, the state that represents 2/3 of the border. Kamala Harris has talked to me exactly 0 times.
Ooh, 0 times. Have you tried reaching out to her?
No, the person I've reached out to actually has been President Biden. And I have, when he arrived on the tarmac in El Paso, I handed him a letter, a one-page letter to make it easy and simple to comprehend, that let him know about the 3 laws that already exist under laws passed by Congress about action he can take immediately to secure the border. He never once took me up on that offer.
I remember that day. We spoke right after that, and I was curious to know if he handed that letter right away to Kamala Harris. I mean, this is something that they share because it's been the most explosive part of their administration. And he attached her name to it. I don't call her a border czar. She's the woman in charge. I mean, czar seems too light. He said he wanted her in the room, the last person in the room of every major decision. She's tied to this, which I would imagine is why Democrats are trying so hard to make America forget that it's her. I want to get to this with you, Governor. Miranda Devine's new opinion piece, Kamala Harris must still hold Biden's border inflation baggage, even as the Democrats' myth-making machine fires on all cylinders. She argues that despite attempts by media handmaidens to erase her history as a border czar, there is ample video evidence that she was handed the poison portfolio of managing the illegal migrant crisis. Vice President Harris avoided going to the border with her eye only on selfish optics rather than the welfare of the country or the pride of a job well done. She refashioned the role into something amorphous, root cause gig, where she jetted around to a few countries and handed out our money. Look, she came to El Paso in your state for a heartbeat, and somebody forensically cleaned everybody up off the streets. We covered it.
Well, you're exactly right. Listen, it was a sanitized version of what she saw on the border. She never went to the areas where Biden and Kamala Harris were allowing 5,000 people to cross a day, which was Eagle Pass, Texas. They never firsthand witnessed the chaos they caused. But to tie this back in, Harris, to what you initially talked about in this segment, listen, regardless of whatever title they have, the president and the vice president have a primary duty. Their sacred duty is to protect the United States of America from terrorists. And know this, the new number about the number of the known terrorists who've been apprehended coming across the border is 383 under the Biden-Harris administration. Know this also, however, and that is those are the ones apprehended. If you're on the terrorist watch list, you pay more to the cartels to not be apprehended. We don't know how many hundreds or thousands of terrorists are in our country because the Biden-Harris administration did not secure the border. As the director of the FBI, Director Wray, testified, he said that he anticipates the possibility of another 9/11 style attack because of the people allowed across the border by the Biden-Harris presidency. And listen, Kamala is now running to be the president of the United States. Their job is to guard our national security. When it concerns guarding national security, Kamala Harris has been an abject failure and has endangered Americans. If we have a 9/11 style attack, it is on the hands of Kamala Harris.
Wow, I want us to put up that Terror Watch graphic one more time. I know we've shown it a couple of times, but it is just so important to take another look. Look at the number already for fiscal year 24, 93. During all the years that Trump was president, during his term, 11. You add up all the numbers on the right, and we need to correct that graphic because it is Biden-Harris. And now she's running for president. You pointed that out. That is true. During that time, 375. And if you do the math between 23 and 24, we're on track to at least tie that, I would imagine, if we don't change something. Talk to me about the citizens of Texas right now, and what do you tell them when you know that there's only so much you can do when it comes to doing the federal government's job?
Well, first, I'll tell you what we did do, then I'll tell you the perspective of Texans right now, and that is that area where 5,000 people were coming across the border is Eagle Pass, Texas. Because we wired it shut, no longer are there 5,000 people crossing the border. On average, there is less than one illegal immigrant crossing the border a day. If you look at the entire border of Texas from Brownsville to El Paso, we've reduced illegal immigration by 85%.
Wow.
But today, Harris, connected to, I think, something you alluded to early on in your show, Texans are angry. Because over the weekend, there was a police officer in San Antonio, Texas, who was shot by a gun by an illegal immigrant, allowed in and allowed to remain in the United States of America. And this is deadly dangerous because of the policies the Biden administration and Kamala Harris are allowing to take place. Remember this one thing, Harris, is very important to say, and that is Kamala in this video that surfaced this weekend said that illegal immigrants are not criminals. She's prosecuted criminals. She knows what criminals are. Illegal immigrants are not criminals. The man who tried to kill a police officer in San Antonio, he's a criminal. The men who raped and murdered Jocelyn Nungary, they are criminals. Kamala Harris needs to be called out and recognized these are criminals coming across our border and act accordingly.
Well, and in the case of the police officer who was shot in one of your Texas communities in San Antonio, and we pray for his recovery and for his family's support of him, her recovery, excuse me, and for her family's support of her as she makes a recovery that we're hoping will be a full one. At the same time, if Kamala Harris recognizes criminals, then she's going to have to make sure that her administration does too. He was actually caught and released and given a court date of 2026. He was part of the system that has become so toxic with people that we really don't vet the way we should. Last quick word.
Kamala has a chance of redemption. She's going to show up in Houston, Texas on Thursday of this week. And there is a bill filed by Ted Cruz in the United States Congress. It's called Justice for Jocelyn that would require the United States for ICE to hold these people in detention and not let them loose. Kamala Harris can step up on Thursday in Houston, Texas, and say she supports Ted Cruz' Justice for Jocelyn Act.
Do you think she'll do that?
We'll find. I tell you what, if she refuses to do it, it's a signal to America she's not taking her job serious as potential president of the United States, that she would continue to catch and release into the United States dangerous criminals. And this is a tell to Americans when they go cast their vote. Is Kamala up to the duty of detaining illegal immigrants who cross the border who pose an imminent danger to our fellow Americans?
Look, you set the standard and the bar high for her on Thursday to really, really make a stand on this. We'll all watch for it. Governor Abbott of the great state of Texas, we're always with you in this and watching, even when the federal government wanted to sue you over the wiring shut of the border that you talked about. If it weren't for that, you wouldn't see an 85% drop in numbers just where you are along that Rio Grande sector. Good on you. We wish it were contagious for this current administration. We'll see what happens. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.